Welcome to another episode of Happy Hour with Steve Guy. I am your host, Steve Guy. Another solid show for you. Stand-up comedy from Cleveland comedian Dwayne Duke later in the show. Plus, a sit-down chat with independent professional wrestler Pretty Boy Smooth, who's doing some amazing things outside of the ring worth talking about. But before all of that, here's what people are talking about at Happy Hour this week. This week, the Cleveland mayor, Frank Jackson, did an interview in which he expressed awareness that he knew people have been referring to the city of Cleveland as the butthole of the world. Unfortunately for the mayor, that's the only part of the interview that most people saw, as the cheeky 10-second clip made its rounds on social media. Look, in fairness to the mayor, he obviously was trying to defend the city of Cleveland and was being facetious. And look, that clip wasn't all it was cracked up to be on social media. I mean, according to folks there, this wrecked him. However, it was a taken out of context clip from an hour-long interview, and people could see more, but clearly they just don't want to get to the bottom of it. But I encourage you, use those brown eyes, or whatever color they may be, and watch the rest of the interview. That's the big topic floating around Happy Hour. But here's another thing going on at this time frame. During this pandemic, you would think that a lot of people with a limited chance to get out there and socialize with others would be missing out on an opportunity of love. But that's apparently not the case. Here are romantic readings of Craigslist missed connections. Gray, bearded man watching the rocket this morning. I pulled over this morning to watch the rockets go off. I noticed you in your driveway watching as well. You're a handsome guy, 60s, gray beard. You had a nice hairy chest and belly. You noticed me looking. As you walked back inside, your robe slipped open, showing me your white briefs. I don't know if it was on purpose or accidental. I really hope you read this and message me. Perhaps there were multiple rockets to go off that morning. Beth with Postmates. You delivered to my apartment late Sunday night, and you looked fantastic. If you see this, I'd love to chat sometime. Delivery. It's the conversation you ordered. Hard body at hardware store. Shopping at the hardware store, and you passed in one of the aisles. You glanced at me and gave me a bit of a smile. You were hot as hell in those green shorts and that long wavy hair. Everything about you was stunning. The only problem is that my wife was in a different part of the store, so I couldn't strike up a conversation. I know it's a slim chance you see this, but I was the muscular, dad-aged guy. Good looking too, if I do say so myself. It will be our secret, if you do see this. Secret's out. Someone wants to show off how handy they are with their tool. Who knew that Craigslist misconnections could be so sensual? Shifting gears now into our conversation of the week, this one was an important one for me to get out there. This gentleman is an independent professional wrestler, but even more impressive than what he's doing inside of the ring as he chases those dreams are the things that he's doing outside of the ring, helping to make a change in this world and even help others chase their dreams. This is my conversation with Mr. Larger Than Life, Mr. Fresh to Death, Pretty Boy Smooth. Welcome to Happy Hour.
How's it going, man? How you doing?
Because it is a happy hour, Steve Guy, as we're chilling here, and you and I have shared drinks on occasion.
Yeah.
But what is the PB Smooth happy hour drink of choice?
Well, funny thing, I did a show called Revenge Pro Wrestling in Erie, Pennsylvania, and like certain shows, they name like specials like drinks after some of the wrestlers. So when they made the Pretty Boy Smooth, it was Red Bull, Grenadine, and Crown Apple, I believe. So whenever I go places, if I want to be a dickhead, I'll just say I want a pretty boy smooth, and they'll be like, "What?" And then I'll show them the picture of what the drink was. And I'll just order that.
Sounds like a very sugary, sweet tasting drink.
100%. You don't want too many of them though.
That's good. What bar was that at Erie?
They have a bar that's attached to the hotel that we run like shows at, like for the venue.
Is this the Plymouth?
No, but I did get it at the Plymouth once.
Okay.
This is the Avalon.
The Avalon, the other one.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the main streets of Erie, Pennsylvania. Don't you worry.
Sounds like it.
So you ended up in Erie. A lot of people probably don't know your backstory. There's a lot of people who are going to be watching this that aren't necessarily wrestling fans, but you grew up playing basketball and you were a college basketball player.
Yeah.
And so how do we arrive in Erie, Pennsylvania and getting into pro wrestling?
So I'm originally from Hempstead, New York. It's an area, a town in Long Island. When I was growing up, we were known for a lot of like drug related kind of situations. Like the public school I went to, an elementary school on South Franklin Street, was like known for just like crack deals and shit like that. But going into middle and high school, when I started taking basketball seriously, I was fortunate enough to get into private schools and Catholic schools. And I ended up going to Hofstra University in New York. It's a university that's just right there, like 10 minutes from my house. So pretty much I redshirted my first year because I had a really bad knee injury. And the next year, my coach got offered a ton of money to go to Fordham University. So he just left the school. And the way Division I rules work is if you're a student, like a student athlete, and you transfer, you have to sit out a year. And I already sat out a year, so I didn't want to transfer. So we got a new guy who actually ended up getting a DUI 2 weeks after getting the job and had to resign. And then we got one of his assistant coaches who was a first-year head coach and honestly was in way over his head. Mm-hmm. And he brought in like his own players pretty much that he wanted to like recruit, which is fine. I mean, it happens all the time. But around the same time, there was a doctor's note floating around that said I'd never be able to play basketball again because my knee was so bad.
Oh.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't true because through therapy and strength training and all this shit, like I got back into playing shape and I was ready to go. Mm-hmm. But he didn't want to give me an opportunity because again, he recruited his own guys and we were winning games. So when you're winning, it like covers up all like the other bullshit that's going on. And in reality, we were winning because Charles Jenkins was our starting guard, who was my roommate that actually got drafted by the Golden State Warriors.
Wow.
Yeah. So he pretty much like talked me into transferring, and I was going to go to the University of New Hampshire, but again with the Division I rule, like I would have had to sit out. So I went to Division II and ended up at Erie, Pennsylvania. And it's actually funny because that coach got fired like 3 years later because he just kept losing, and there was a scandal where his players like stole stuff or like robbed him. I don't know what the case may be. It gets really deep. But anyway, I went to Mercyhurst. I played there for several years. I got my bachelor's and master's degree there. I was setting up to go play overseas, but I'll tell the full story now that it's relative to what's going on.
Okay.
I was going to go play overseas, but I started dating this white girl at the school. I was like really in love with her. And unfortunately, she had racist parents. And this was like my first year of like my master's degree. So in my mind, being like love sprung, I'm like, hey, maybe if I finish my master's, they'll look at me differently and have more respect for me and whatnot. So I go back to school, and without getting into too much detail, the relationship didn't work out.
Okay.
Yeah, so things happen. So I'm going through this weird, like, I don't want to use the word depression because I hate it, but I was like in a really like sunken place, you could say. I didn't know if I wanted to play basketball anymore. Like I was almost not going to classes, but I was lucky enough that I picked up a grad assistant job in the rec center, and one of the friends that worked with me was best friends with a girl that was dating Fabulous John McChesney at the time.
All right.
And she knew I was a wrestling fan, but I'd only seen WWE. So she started bringing me to shows. One thing led to another. I wanted to ref, and they're like, no, you're too big. Pretty much get into the wrestling world. And because Erie is like in the middle of all the places that I travel and train, whether it be Buffalo, Ohio, Indiana, wherever we go, like I just ended up staying here and getting a shoot job to hold me over when I need it and whatnot. So
yeah, I can picture it now. I mean, you are nearly 7 feet tall, so you standing in there as a referee. All right, let's put something to bed here, PB. You are on an edition of an NCAA basketball game for.
You know what? I think I have it in here. Hold on a second. Do I have it? I do. It's this one. I don't even have a PS3 anymore, but I always keep a copy of it because it's cool. And
what is what I need to know? What is your player rating?
We're not going to talk about all that. We're not going to talk about that. And funny enough, when I was doing the season, they had me transferring anyway. But we won like a big lawsuit on that. Like they got sued.
Yeah, for using everybody's likeness, right?
Yeah. So imagine if I was scoring like 30 points a game, I would have got a lot of money. But I got something nice. I got a little, tax refund-ish kind of pay.
All right, that's solid. I don't try to talk about things that are always too serious on this show, but I always let the times dictate what we discuss and where we are right now. Obviously, racial issues are a huge topic, and I think your career kind of parallels some of that stuff because, here's a guy that grew up in New York, and people will see you, okay, black guy in New York, and they expect you to act a certain way. What is that mindset for you? Because I imagine that's got to be so frustrating.
I mean, it's ignorant as fuck when you really think somebody would say something like that. That if I talk in a way that, like, if I'm good at articulating myself or I have an education or something like that, like that makes me white. Like that's just like people that are ignorant and trash and honestly, like they're very closed-minded.
You have a wrestling character, and while it is definitely elements of Paul, it's not Paul. So I know that you've gotten pressure to make it more of a certain way and cultivate this character into more of a stereotype. Are you able to easily just deny that pressure, or has it gotten to you sometimes? And you're like, yeah, maybe this makes sense. And some of this is on wrestling fans too. I feel like we shouldn't say it's just on promoters,
because like there's certain stereotypes that go on in the world that they just expect to automatically be true, and it's kind of like it's closed-minded, and it's very sad that people haven't elevated their level of thinking that unless I act this particular way, they're not going to understand what's going on. So what I've done with my wrestling persona is pretty much took the route of extending my personality to the extreme. Like I'm done trying to be like the angry black man or whatever the case may be. There are elements of that come out if it plays well for a story or an emotion that I'm trying to like engage. But at the end of the day, like I'm a dude that believes I'm larger than life. I believe that I'm a star, and like that may offend some people, but that's not my problem. And I'm not going to like dumb myself down to make other people feel good about themselves. I'm trying to do it in a way that shows people that they can elevate and do it too. My whole life has been based around me breaking stereotypes. And it's not just like racial stereotypes, it's stereotypes within my family, my friends, everything. Like I remember my dad telling me like, yo, if you get tattoos on your hand or whatever, you're not going to get a job. As you can see, both of my hands have tattoos. Right. I have a full-time job with a 401k, and they take care of me, and I can get off for wrestling shows. So that doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm tall, I'm big, I have tattoos, I have dreads, like all this shit that like they want to associate a certain way. I'm not letting them do that. So like my whole thing is just finding as many ways as possible to do that. And my whole thing was like, when I blow up or when I get big, I want to do this, this, and this. I want to give money to this organization or whatever. But it got to a point where I'm like, why can't I do it now? And I was having a conversation with this woman, Samantha, that's my gear maker and one of like my close friends. Mm-hmm. And she was somebody that charged me up, that's always supportive and believes in me, hypes me up when I need it. And it's like, yeah, like go do that shit. So what I did was I reached out to the financial aid office at Mercyhurst. And I had a friend there, which helped a lot. And that's why you should always network and be cool with everybody. But it put me in touch with someone that can put the scholarship together. We had lunch together. His name is Ryan Palm. He's a great dude. And he's actually like a wrestling fan, which actually made it pretty cool. So pretty much what it is we're looking for an incoming African-American freshman that wants to go into the communication department. Because one, we need to diversify Mercyhurst because there's not a lot of us in there. Two, it's a stigma that communication isn't a good like major to go after, but it's something that we need. Like a lot of the people in the media and reporters and stuff, like they suck. They don't know how to speak like articulate. They don't know how to write. With people that don't know how to read, don't know how to interview. You know what I'm saying? Like
sure.
Journalists, like they get things wrong all the time. So why not put somebody that wants to be there in that position and help them excel?
And that's not even the only thing that you're doing to give back. You are in the midst of fundraising right now for a friend of yours that really needs the help.
Yeah. So Katie Dutters is one of the few people that I go to in terms of like, she's like a PR person for me, if that makes sense. Like she's one of my best friends that has helped me market and brand and look at different strategies to reach the most people. Just like my friend Samantha I told you about, and just like you, she wants to see me succeed and do well. She's always had my back. And we were hanging out one day and we're in the car and she tells me that she has like, I don't remember what stage it was, but she told me she had breast cancer and I broke down. And because like there are a lot of people that come back from it and there are some that don't. And I've never been in that struggle, so I don't know how it is, but just like seeing like her losing her hair and all this kind of stuff, like it sucks. And despite all that, she's still the most positive person I've ever met. Always has a smile on her face, always looks at the upside of things and whatnot. And she's always there for me, even when she's struggling and going through this, because she didn't tell me right away. So pretty much what happened was, you know how me and Derek go back and forth on Twitter. And for people that don't know, Derek is a professional wrestler like me that I've feuded with for several years, and we have really good chemistry. So we're always poking the bear at each other. So it just so happens that we both have air bike, like they're exercise bikes that predominantly CrossFit community uses. Mm-hmm. And we used to go back and forth sending each other videos and stuff. And it got to a point where we're like, yo, like, what can we do with this? Like, is there an end game? Like, and we're like, maybe we can do like some type of like charity thing. And he's very familiar with Katie Dutters as well, thinks the world of her. And we decided together that this fundraiser, like we can find a way to do this and raise money to help with her medical expenses. Mm-hmm. So that's where the initial idea came about, the Air Bike Derby. And what we're doing is for every $10 that's donated to her GoFundMe account, we're doing 20 seconds sprints on the air bike with only 10-second rest. So we're still piecing together how we're going to do it because we're already over $4,000, which equals 400 sprints. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like we're doing something genuinely to help someone else. We're using our platform and our content to make a change and make a difference. And I feel like a lot of people that are in positions of power are not doing that. Like, I don't think I'm doing anything that like a Tupac or a Nipsey Hussle wouldn't do, mm-hmm. in all honesty. Because people will listen to this music and be like, yeah, like I get it. But do you have the spirit of these people that are willing to do what needs to be done to change the narrative, to make the world a better place? You know what I'm saying? So I just want to be a catalyst of that. Something that always sticks out with me was when Tupac said, I may not change the world, but I may spark the mind that will. Like, I want to do as much as I can to prove that right.
Is some of that why, not just the athletic point of it, but why pro wrestling in general is such an attraction to you, because you're in front of so many people, and you can get that following more than an everyday job?
For sure. I feel professional wrestling is the sports entertainment that fits my personality.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me to show the hard work that I put in, whether it be in the gym or studying film and what have you. It allows me to reach an extension of myself that you normally can't reach in everyday life. And it allows me the opportunity to entertain people. Like, we all have those bad days where we may just want to come home and watch The Office. And
Right.
what I do is The Office for some people. So knowing that I'm doing something I love and it's having a positive effect, whether I'm a heel or baby face or whatever the narrative may be, like, that makes me feel good.
All right. So what's with no wrestling really going on right now, what does PB Smooth have going on?
I'm also trying to put myself in a very vulnerable state, because I have a lot of people in my life that are shocked that I feel the way I do, or that I've had run-ins with crooked cops, or that I feel like I've been targeted racially through injustice and whatnot. So I'm just trying to make my audience more aware of what's going on in the world, so that they can make a decision on whether they want to stay silent or take a stand and try to help us fight against this. Because it's not a black or white thing. To me, it's like racist versus non-racist. And that's how I'm viewing all this.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have white friends that I love just as much as my black friends. I'm literally meeting today with a good friend of mine that's a white cop from Erie to see what we can do to help things. So my whole thing is, the big project is to influence change. That's putting it in, like, simple terms.
Yeah, but that's awesome. Let people know how they can donate to the scholarship fund, though. Go ahead.
I wrote it down, but I believe so. You go to mercyhurst.edu/give,
Okay.
and it will give you tabs on, like, different scholarships that you can look at. You hit other, and you type in PB provides scholarship.
All right. Well, where can everybody find you on social media so they can just learn about everything that you're doing and help out in any way they can, or just support in general?
Oh, for sure. My Instagram is PB_smooth. I'm on Twitter at PB_fresh2death with the number 2. And if you type in PB Smooth on your Facebook browser, I'm sure I'll pop up there.
All right. Appreciate PB coming on. And now you're going to play us out with the little bit that you have learned during this whole pandemic period on your saxophone.
Do you want Careless Whisper, or do you want Mary Had a Little Lamb?
Oh, that's a tough decision, but I think I want Careless Whisper. That is so far the only part of Careless Whisper that PB knows, but it was impressive nonetheless. And hopefully you were impressed with a lot of the things that he's doing outside of the ring. And if you're a wrestling fan, I encourage you to check him out. Look at his previous matches, as I know there's not a lot of live wrestling happening right now, and cheer him on as he moves forward in that career, because he certainly is one of the good ones. Now let's circle back to some lighter fun. This is a clip of stand-up comedy from Cleveland comedian who you can follow on Twitter at Life's a Party, Dwayne Duke.
First strip club I ever went to was in Key West, Florida. It was an all-male strip club. Hold your applause. They sound great in theory, but in practice they are bullshit, right? It is a group of Arnold Classic rejects standing around sweating steroids at you wearing banana hammocks, and that is not fun for anyone. It happened because I went for a guys' weekend. I was hanging out with a group of my friends. I had just graduated college. We all went down to Key West to go celebrate, and we were doing the most traditional guys' weekend thing, like we got matching ankle tattoos. And Like we're walking down the main strip in Key West with sarongs on, right? Just talking about our feelings, you know, guys weekend. And well, at one point we were on the beach, we drew a big old heart, we put our initials in it, and said, friends forever, guys weekend, right? So I'm in the strip club and it is going awful, right? Like there's just one dude he's straddling my shoulders and I'm just speed bagging his sack. Butter to butter to butter to butter to butter. Like I'm training to fight Rocky. So I work with children, guys. I have a brand new hobby that's crop dusting kindergartners. It is so much fun. You ever fart in a 5-year-old's face and just watch them try to articulate what's wrong in the world? Right? It is so good. I had some trouble with my car last week. I had to get one of those things you have to blow to make it work. A mechanic.
Hopefully Dwayne made you laugh just as much as he always does me. Once again, check him out on Twitter at Life's a Party. Follow him anywhere, really. I know he has Instagram and Facebook as well. Or go to his YouTube, watch more of his stand-up comedy clips. Just search Dwayne Duke there. Now it's time for a tip from the bartender. And this one was actually sent in to me. Somebody asking a question saying, Steve, what should you do when you make a joke on social media and it happens to be at someone else's expense, and even though you didn't mean to, they felt really bad about it and it upset them? Should you apologize, and how should you do that? Well, here's what I think that you should do, and it's just a suggestion. I think that certainly you should always apologize. Even though you didn't necessarily mean it in that manner, it clearly wasn't taken in that manner, and you both didn't see it as a joke. And I think even after the apology, there are other things that you can do. I think that you can support them. It's a great thing to do, really. And maybe you ask, well, how do I support them? Just throwing some things out there. You know, if you make a joke at someone's expense on Twitter and they're upset with you, maybe you could support them by letting them know that you buy tickets to all of their movies when it hits the cinema, and you also watch them when they go on Netflix or digital, or you buy it on DVD. And you can let them know that maybe you watch a television show that they produce and host on Monday nights on NBC. And, you know, look, maybe they started a business and you could support that business. What kind of business? I don't know. Let's just say maybe they started a tequila company, and, you know, you could go out and get that tequila and you could support them by bringing it home and giving it a try. That's a noble thing. And then letting people know about the tequila in particular, which totally opposite of that. And my Twitter interaction with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he has a tequila that we mentioned on the show before called Terramana Tequila, and I have come across a bottle, and you know, I just thought, oh, that smells real good. Maybe I would give it a try for the first time ever, right here with you guys at Happy Hour. Just a little bit, because it's just a sip, and I'm working, obviously. So, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I offer you my apologies. I'm a huge fan, and I hope that we can put that one-time Twitter beef to bed. The one that you probably have no clue what I'm talking about and don't even remember at this point. But, cheers, my friend. It's really good. I like that a lot. Well, folks, that's going to do it on this week's episode of Happy Hour with Steve Guy. Make sure you check out the Happy Hour with Steve Guy podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Google, Spotify, it's all there, or home base, anchor.fm. The full conversation with PB Smooth also available, and we talk even more in depth about all of the things that he's doing, as well as previous conversations also up there at Happy Hour with Steve Guy as well. Make sure you're all staying safe, staying healthy, and being responsible. Until next time, thanks for swinging by Happy Hour with Steve Guy.